Hope you've all got your phones turned off. Quick health and safety things, fire exits, out that door, down to the reception, out the front door. Don't follow me, because we last out the building. Phones are off there, we've done that bit. My name's Mike Green, I'm CIBSE FM Group committee member. And we've been lucky enough to get this event here today to showcase some of the work that we're doing collaborating, CIBSE are doing in collaboration with BCIA and BCIA, which is kind of the first for a very, very long time that there's been that kind of collaboration taking place. So we're going to be talking about all sorts of things, PPM, condition-based maintenance, reactive, new technology, IoT, smart buildings, all sorts of things will get touched on this evening. But really the heart of the matter is, you know, this has all been talked about in collaboration with each other. And we're all service, or part of the services industry, one way or another. And it's what drives what we do, and it's what drives what our clients do as well. So before I introduce our speakers, I'd just like to do a few thank yous. First of all, I'd like to thank the rest of the committee for all getting involved and getting this event off the ground. I'd like to thank main business, BCIA and BCIA for the collaboration they've done to give us the subject matter itself. I'd like to thank MTS and GP who's at the back there, the representative who maintain this building. And OSIC, Office Space and Sound, who are the owners of the building. You've got to see this building, and there will be tours after you've had a little quick look around. It's not a very big building, but the content is unbelievable. It really is quite staggering, and you'll see what I mean when you get the tour, because what they've done in this building is awesome. It's a hell of a place to work. So that's the thank you. We've got three speakers this evening for you. We've got the how, the why, and how actually comes last. The why and the sort of the bits and pieces that are involved in it, and then how as a case study at the end of it. So you've got the three sort of parts of the life cycle of somebody putting together a planned maintenance regime that's based either on technology or it's based on condition-based monitoring, etc., etc. So, John. I'd like to hand over to you, John Belfield. Belfield.
Thank you very much. Belfield. George, do you want to set that up? So yeah, I'm here representing two organisations. I'm currently president of the BCIA, Building Controls Industry Association. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. It's an organisation, it's for trade associations, over 100 companies involved. And the importance of it is that we've got the manufacturers who make all the stuff, all the way down to all the systems integrators, all represented under that association. And so we've got the whole expertise on that. There are over 100 members in the association. And the concept is to promote excellence in building automation. And FM managers who have to take an existing building which has been built in this is 20 years, another big drive for BCIA is the Manchester, and I just mentioned to somebody actually, and I want to perhaps reiterate it, that one of the ways I try and fulfil my role as a president of the BCIA and run in tandem systems is by looking through the eyes of our young engineers. We've got 10 young engineers, all in their 20s, and I'm desperately trying to hang on to this incredible revolution in technology and make sure that we make strategic decisions that the world that George is going to engineer for the next 30 years to get us to net zero 50, we're making the right decisions now. So tonight's case study, I'm going to hand you over to George for this one. It was identified by Tom Randall, who sadly can't be with us here tonight, has been interest to this group. And I'm very aware there's a huge variety of experience, and so it's difficult to pitch it. So I hope you can get something from it, but it's really just to try and set that motion going as how BMS can work for you. It's the how can you get it making your life easier and the people who are in your buildings working easier. So George has been the lead engineer on this particular project, and I'll let you roll through it, and we can muck in as we go. So I'll hand you over to George. Thank you.
Yeah, hi guys. So we were contacted by a facilities management group. They manage buildings all over. Generally their issue was that they have a lot of buildings in isolation, usually residential or care home style buildings, with no visibility and particularly quite afraid of BMS, and perhaps not doing what they wanted and getting what they wanted out of such a powerful tool. So they contacted us for some advice and some expertise. As I mentioned, everything's working in isolation, and as a result of that, they had no visibility of their plant and were constantly reacting and just having to visit sites, loads of call-outs, and not efficient maintenance. So we sort of said, okay, so where do you want to get to? Where do you want and what do you want to make this portfolio that you have, work better for you? And so, firstly, they wanted plant rooms working. That was a key prerequisite. It sounds very simple, but as you may all find, stuff goes wrong and stuff may not be set up quite how you want it. So we kind of wanted to get to that baseline. Add value to what they bring to their customers. They work for housing groups, for other facilities, and they're just managing it all. So what can they add to their offering? And then for the engineers, how can we make it a standard approach? Every building's different, but can we make an interface or a process that is the same no matter which building or plant room or which day that you turn up? And then also increase the skill set and not have to rely on the BMS companies, which are often viewed as I'm not going to say dark art, but definitely challenging, and you rely on specialists. So to upskill a lot of the staff and help them do some of the maintenance that they were perhaps paying a higher price than they needed to. So we started with just getting some visibility of all these plant rooms, starting with remote connectivity, so we can react to this stuff, get everyone onto a platform. As I say here, it's not a new thing, but it's definitely something that is more useful, and it's easier to achieve than it ever has been before. With smartphone generation, everyone's used to dealing with apps and things on their phones. A lot of you will have Hive and Nest and such things in your houses. So so working with that kind of thing is not now as difficult as it once was. But also, very importantly, is to keep it simple. Just because the most complicated analytics are available doesn't mean that works for your building. So if you've got nothing coming from a base of no analytics whatsoever, perhaps it's not good to go for that straight away. You can start with simple text messaging. It's all connectivity, it's all useful stuff, but it's a spectrum rather than a all or nothing. So that's that. So getting that connectivity comes with its own technical difficulties. IT networks can prove a challenge. Some are fantastic, and IT will sort out exactly what you need to achieve that level of security and connectivity. But other options do exist with 4G. You can use fantastic routers that give you the same level of connectivity, and you don't have to rely on a IT network. We did this for this project because we could bring the control of that network within house. It was reliable, it's manageable, and still secure. And then also as we build the platform, to do it in sensible steps and time scales. So we're doing things that's achievable for that specific customer. With BMS, there are lots of different systems houses, Trend, Schneider, Centraline. In the past, they haven't been very good at sharing information, not compatible. That's changing, lots of different protocols. It's still not there, but it's definitely improved. For this one, we've chosen the Niagara-based IQ Vision. The plant room's a lot of Trend controllers, as you may or may not be familiar with. But that also accepts open protocol points. So it put it on a platform that we could share information from lots of different BMS systems. So the main aim of it is to increase visibility of the BMS and educate. And by getting people up to that level within the facilities company, they can solve a lot of the problems and reduce call-out times to us, and they can solve a lot of that themselves. We wanted to increase the understanding for them of BMS and make it less of that, locked in a control panel in a plant room and just bring it out there. And by doing that, you get more confidence in the system. So if there's a problem, we can solve it together, facilities and BMS engineers together, rather than the default in the past has just been to put systems into hand and just get it running again. So automation only works if it's left in the way it should be. So that is our absolute end goal, to have it running in auto. Then we can do all the clever stuff. We can do energy efficiency. Let's get into that baseline. And working with the facilities engineers, our engineers, to have the platform almost a culture, an embedded tool, usable, that's useful for all stakeholders. So this is the kind of thing we've done. A simple dashboard interface. A schematic is really key to just get understanding of that plant. Simple alarms and status points for the different plant, the critical plant. And you can engineer this to do graphs and sensors for reporting. This can, like one page tool to be able to tell anything that there is on that system, and also link to alarm reporting via email, text messages. So this allows improved reactive maintenance. Firstly, it reduced the low-level call-outs, and by those I mean the ones that they didn't know what to do with before, so they sent someone to site. That's reduced those because we know what the problem is. If we've got the connectivity, got the visibility of the system, we know exactly what the problem is and can react to it. If it's an issue, we can then decide that the site call-out is going to be more effective. We're going to send the right person with the right kit and fix it first time. And then also, the response time. From automated alarms, we can react within perhaps 2 hours rather than 4 hours. In the past, they relied on a customer within the residential block to phone up and say, I'm cold, I've got no hot water. We know this now, before anyone does. And to improve the proactive maintenance. Proactive maintenance includes hours run. We know how much this kit's been running. We know how much it's designed to run, so we can decide when we can accurately predict when it might fail over the time. That means we can have properly planned maintenance and upgrades over a number of years. The data from the open protocol systems also adds into that. You've got more visibility of what is happening inside these boxes, such as boilers, CHPs, than you ever did. So we can use that and build that into the maintenance plan. But the benchmark is a working system. That's where we've got to at this point. What can we do about energy efficiency, ongoing commissioning, improving the system in terms of how it efficiently works? So the connectivity allows us to engineer remotely, which is fantastic. We can do a huge amount of our maintenance now from the office, from off-site. The ongoing monitoring it can be used to monitor how its building's performing, and also for reporting. That can help with compliance and also how much energy it's saving. You can then implement things like the City Guide H. You can make sure your building's operating to your best practice. Before, perhaps that wasn't quite so visible, but now we can check every strategy against a list. And then what will we do in future? So the head-end platform is now available at our facilities offices. We want it to be available for every engineer at the touch, in front of the control panel on site, or wherever they are working. The automated alarms, which come from the individual plant rooms, can be used to reroute an engineer it can be geographically mapped to where an engineer is at that time, where the site the alarms occurred at, and what skill set they've got. If they're near to the site but have no idea how to fix it, don't send them. But this can be all automated by the software. And then one really useful thing is a CIBSE guide, which is sort of being worked on at the moment to get best practice of BMS. So that can be used by BMS engineers, by facilities managers, by consultants to advise on how a system should operate in its ideal conditions. That's that. So take a few questions.
We'll do the questions at the end.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, thanks, George and John. Before our next speaker comes on, I'd just like to touch on a couple of points there. George was talking very much about connectivity, and he mentioned Niagara. Niagara is only one of the platforms that's used at the moment.
Yeah.
BACnet is used extensively, and there is, to the best of my knowledge, only one building management system left as a manufacturer, anyway, that cannot be spoken to by other systems. There are legacy systems in buildings that are closed protocol systems, but there's only one manufacturer, I believe, now that has a closed protocol system for sale, generally speaking, as its standard. They will produce closed protocol, it's easy for me to say that, upon request for things like defence establishments and those sort of things where there's perhaps a security issue. But generally speaking now, we can connect pretty much all of our building management systems, all of our building control systems. That includes access, entry, CCTV, you name it, lighting controls. We can connect them all together if we want to. It's only a matter of what's possible in your mind. There's something that came to me last week, which was really important. You can jump in at the deep end and get it all wrong. You've got to set an end goal, work on a strategy, start small, build it up, bite off perhaps your lighting control system first of all, then go to a proper BEMS across the rest of the building, then build your CCTV and your security into those systems. Once you've got those connected, the company should allow you to put that on their IT infrastructure, and that gets over a lot of the connectivity problems, because you were talking about 4G and whatnot. Once you've got it on their system, you shouldn't have a problem with connectivity of any kind of instrument. So, with that in mind, I'd like to hand over to our next speaker from NG Bailey, please. Chris?
Yeah.